guys, it's Becky. Welcome to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video because I've said before over the years, and I've been on YouTube for 9 years, I think, a little over 9, I don't know, something like that. My channel is really a reflection of my life. I know the YouTube algorithm wants me to just make one kind of video and talk about it relentlessly, but that doesn't interest me, and that is not the only thing I'm interested in is one thing. I have so many things that I'm interested in and so many different stages that I've been through and so many things that I've learned that I really like to share that with you guys whenever it is relevant to me. And so we are in somewhat of a new stage of life because our oldest daughter just turned 18 earlier this year. And so that's new terrain for us. She's our oldest, and we are navigating all of the joys and challenges and things to do that come with that stage of life for her. And so I thought I would share some ideas with you guys of things that we have either done with our oldest or that we are planning to do or we're still currently doing with her as she's transitioning from being a teenager into being a young adult. So of course this is just a drop in the bucket. I mean, I could sit here and talk 24 hours a day about all the things that you need to know to be an adult and be responsible and be mature and blah, blah, blah. But this is just a drop in the bucket of those things. But I do have 10 things that, like I said, we have done or are doing or will do with her to really help set her up for success, to be organized, to be productive, to be mature and independent, and all of those things that you want for your kids when they grow up. The first thing is to set her up a bank account / debit card. She already had a savings account. It was an online kid savings account that she's had ever since she was little. And we put money in there from time to time, or if she got birthday money from, you know, somebody, a relative or whatever, for the most part, we'd put it in her savings account. So she already had that, but we wanted her to have a local bank that has a tangible debit card that she's able to actually use the money that she's earning now with her job, which I'll get to in a minute, to be able to put money in a savings account that she can more easily access because we have a physical bank. So if your child already has a bank account and maybe it's just a savings account and they're getting older now, maybe they already have a checking account. Maybe we're just behind the game on this, but she didn't have a need for one before, but now she does. And so we set her up earlier this year with a physical bank here in town that has a checking account and a savings account and a debit card. Going along with that is being able to balance a checkbook. This is so important, and I think so many people don't know how to do this, or they just don't do it at all. I've been behind so many people at the store, and the cashier will say, "Do you want the receipt?" And they're like, "No, just throw it away." And that kills me, because how do you know how much money you have in your checking account if you don't record your receipts? How do you know how much money that your credit card statement is actually supposed to be at the end of the month if you don't keep your receipts and keep all that? And I know a lot of people don't do that right now. They just pay whatever bill it is when it comes in if it's a credit card, and they just assume that the bank is right and that's what they have in their checking account. That is not how I do it. I like to make sure that what I have at the end of the month is reconciled with what the bank or the credit card company says, and I balance my checkbook every single month. I balance my credit card statement every single month, and I want her to do the same, and I'm trying to teach her to do the same. And so even though we talked about balancing a checkbook in school, until you actually have your own and do it on a regular basis, it really, I don't think, clicks as well. And so making sure that we're setting her up with these systems where she understands when you use your debit card, record that in your check register, and so you can keep a running balance of how much you actually have in your bank. You can't just call your bank and say, "How much money's in my account?" because that doesn't count things that are pending, or, you know, heaven forbid you've made a mistake, or heaven forbid somebody's used your card without you knowing and you don't have that money. It hasn't come out of your account yet, but then you go to the store and buy something and you don't have any money and you have an NSF charge. I mean, I could go on all day about the nightmares of not keeping good records when you use a debit or credit card. So we're trying to set her up with that to make sure that that does not happen to her. That kind of goes into what I just said, is setting her up for how to keep good records and a system that will work for her. And that system will probably change as she gets older and has different needs or more room to spread out with her, you know, financial documents. But for now, we're just setting her up for a place with receipts, employment information, her check stubs from her job, you know, making it organized for her in a way that makes sense for her so that she will actually use it. And then also, obviously, a system that will fit in the space that she has. She doesn't have an office like I have with filing cabinets and stuff. So we wanted to set her up with something that would suit her needs right now, that would help her to be organized and give her every opportunity available and possible to keep good records. The fourth thing that I think is really important that you want to do with your older child, if you haven't already, is to register them to vote, or have them register to vote and actually vote. Have them, you know, teach them, if you haven't already, and hopefully you have over the years, the importance of your right to vote and actually voting. I know, I forgot what the statistics are, but I know this last election that we had, there was like a huge percentage of the young adult population that didn't even vote. So I think it's really important to not only register them to vote, make sure that's all ready to go before the next election, but also instill in them the importance of having their voice be counted in the form of a vote. So that's something that we have already registered her. She's ready to go. And then she'll be able to vote in the next election. Something that we have not done with her, and that I honestly don't know how to do either, that I'm hoping my husband will teach both of us, is how to change a tire. I don't know how to change one, and I have always had to rely on like calling my husband or my dad and saying, can you come, I blew a tire or whatever. I think it's really important, especially as girls, because that isn't any type of car care a lot of times is, I think, traditionally overlooked. Not that girls can't do it, and maybe there are girls that know how to do it, but I think traditionally girls don't usually do as many things with cars as boys. And so that also comes to knowing how to take care of the car. I mean, you may be able to get your own gas and stuff like that, but knowing how to change your own tire, I think, is really important. One of these days she'll be out on the road on her own. And not that I necessarily want her to be changing a tire on the side of the road, but I want her to be able to at least know how to do that. So that is on our list to do. Number 7 is to sharpen her resume skills. Again, this is something we talked about in school, was how to have a resume and the things that go on a resume. But, she didn't have a job up to this point, and there wasn't even anything to put on a resume. But now that she does have a job and she is building out things that she's doing in the volunteer world and things like that, I think it's really important for her to really get a good looking resume and kind of format what that's going to look like. So, and have a template going so that when she does get, maybe a different job, or she does an internship with her college program, which I know is coming, I think in the spring, that she's kind of got this already going and kind of set up so that she can add to it and beef it up as her experience increases. So I know there's tons of templates online. I'm sure there's YouTube videos. I know a lot of the local libraries will do employment classes to teach you how to look for a job, how to do a resume, how to have a cover letter. So that's something that we really need to work on now that she does have a job and she actually has some experience to put on her resume, to really kind of tweak that a little bit and make it a document that's going to only improve as time goes on. So sharpening your resume skills obviously is important because you want to find a job. Now, like I said, she just started her first job a little over a month ago. There was a little bit of a learning process, I think, for her in how so many companies are very unorganized, and they may say they're hiring on a website or some kind of online post, but they actually aren't, or how many places are actually hiring but they don't even advertise. Sometimes that requires just calling in and asking a manager, are you hiring right now? Definitely the application process, following up is a huge thing. If you just turn your application in, it goes into a pile with a million other applications, and there's nothing there to make it really special. So I think following up is an important skill that I have tried to instill in her, to be professional, to increase your chances of getting the job that you want, and setting your application apart from everybody else's, because you probably are the only one that actually called to say, hey, I applied for this position. I just wanted to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is, Becky, and I'm really interested in this job. So getting a job, and then also going along with that, discussing the importance of tithing, saving, and spending wisely, which kind of goes back to the also keeping up a good system, how to keep records now that you have a job and you're making money. Are you designating money for tithing? Are you setting aside money for saving? And are you keeping good records when you're spending money with your debit card or your credit card? The 9th thing I think is really important, and this is something we've done with both girls their entire lives, but especially now that she's a full-time college student and she is working, her time is a lot more limited than it used to be. So emphasizing and also setting an example of the importance of your time with God and your church life. With an even busier than ever work and school schedule, it may be easy for her to, or anybody, to not be able to find the same amount of time or the same times of the day where you are doing your devotional and reading your Bible and praying or going to church, especially if your child is working at a job where they are working on Sundays, which normally is church day. It may be hard, it's a transition to figure out, like, I have a new schedule now, I have to change my life now, and I need to make sure that my priorities are straight, which obviously God should be the very top thing. And so I think as our routines and our life changes, we have to be able to roll with those punches and still prioritize what matters most. And so that's something that I'm hoping that, and she's been able to do it so far. We're still going to church and she's still doing her Bible time and stuff like that, but just making sure that that's always a conscious effort that I am demonstrating by doing that in my own personal life, and then also helping her kind of navigate those challenges of a tighter schedule. You know, where now can you fit in your devotional time? How, you know, if she had to work on Sunday during morning service, you know, maybe going to night service or watching it on TV later, you know, still prioritizing those things that matter the most. And then the 10th thing that I think is super important for anybody, but especially a teenager or a young adult, is to ask for and accept help when you need it. I talked about this in my video before she turned 18 about like how to handle that kind of I'm 18 now mentality that kind of comes with that territory sometimes. I think a lot of people assume, and whether it's the parent or the child, that because I'm 18, I don't need help. Because I'm 18, I have to have it all figured out. Because I'm 18, I have to do everything by myself. And that's definitely not true. Obviously, you do want to lean towards independence and guide that direction, but it shouldn't be like a shove out the door, figure it out now all on your own type of a thing. And so I think it's really important for both the parent and the kid to understand that they are not going to have it all figured out, and they need you now in some ways more than ever. And for the child to understand that just because you're 18 does not mean you have to have it figured out, and you should ask for help and accept help when you need it. So later this week, I'll be sharing a video of life skill resources for younger kids. So elementary, middle school, high school, different books and workbooks and things like that we're going to be using or have used to really work on life skills with my youngest. Some of these things that we did talk about with our oldest, that I think will be really helpful. So make sure that you stay tuned for that video. It'll be up later this week. And I think it's kind of a full circle. I think it'll be really fun to pair with this video because I'm on both ends of the spectrum. I have a child that is technically an adult and 18, and I have a child who's 12 who is still, you know, very much in the learning process. And now that I have an 18-year-old, I have learned that there were some things that we needed to focus more on in the life skills department that we didn't focus on as much as I wanted to with our oldest, that I definitely hope to do with our youngest. And that's what I'm going to be sharing in this coming video later this week. So make sure you stay tuned for that. If this video was helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And I will link my parenting playlist for you guys. It is every single parenting advice video I've ever made. And I think it'll be really helpful. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.